Yo, what is up guys? It's the Goblin and welcome back to another Call of Duty Modern Warfare Best Class Up. Today's video, I believe it's episode 6. We're talking about the ODEN assault rifle. Now this assault rifle is really deadly, and this is a weapon that has a slow cycle rate, as they like to say, or it's a slower based assault rifle that only has 20 bullets in each magazine. However, of course, there's gonna be something that counteracts that, and that is the fact that the bullets and the hard-hitting ammunition, this thing absolutely melts people and kills people super duper fast in this game. And that's why I think this ODEN is a very awesome weapon that fits into sort of the slow-paced playstyle that they kind of force you into playing in this game, where you're posted up. This weapon will not have a fast ADS speed, it will not have fast movement speed, but it will hit people and will have decent recoil control because it'll just be bouncing up and down, and it will melt people very fast time to kill at pretty much all ranges because of how this thing works with the hard-hitting ammunition. Anyway, we're gonna go talk about the perks, the attachments, all that sort of stuff. Drop a like on this thing. Let's go ahead and go for 782 likes. Smack that like button, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new and not already subscribed. We're up over like 965k on the road to 1 million subs. Y'all are amazing hitting that sub button and everything, so I really do appreciate it. It takes a millisecond, drop a like, and let's go ahead and get right into it. So we'll talk about here and we'll get right into the perks that I run, and then of course go in depth into the attachments. Most of the attachments around this weapon are based around keeping its damage profile up and keeping it where it has good recoil control and very high damage at range, which is the two things that you're going to sort of use with this weapon. Now the recoil is going to be more of a bounce to it, where it's very easy to control as long as you get a hang of it. You know, some weapons will shoot straight up, some weapons will shoot straight to the side, or the most typical probably Call of Duty recoil pattern is up and to the right. But this is a weapon that has that constant bounce, like we've seen in many other CODs, like AK-47s and other weapons. Quite a few of them have that sort of recoil pattern in this game. Anyway, I think this is a very good weapon for a slower based playstyle, which honestly, it's not my favorite to play slower based, but that's how this game really is, and that's why I think this weapon kind of fits into the style that they sort of force you or want you to play in this game, where you can post up and pick people off as they run to objectives, or control or patrol an area, stack those kill streaks, and then move into the spawn, which you'll see me do in this gameplay. I'm posted up in their building, I'm trying to control the map as much as I can, then I get the full streaks and I start to run right up into their spawn and slay them out. Then of course you call in your streaks. So perks. Perk number 1 is going to be EOD. This one is very self-explanatory. EOD is flak jacket. I don't want people grenading me, I don't want claymores killing me. Flak jacket is very strong in this game, especially when you're posted up and people are going to be definitely trying to nade you out if you are patrolling a building, or patrolling maybe a head glitch on B flag or whatever you're doing. Next, perk 2 is going to be restock. Now the reason I go with restock, I think that restock is so overpowered as of right now just because of the fact that I run with the lethal and tactical claymore and stim shot, and restock allows me to restock that claymore every 30 seconds, as well as the stim shots, which of course you start off with 1 claymore, and it's very nice. If you're running shrapnel, you actually get 2 claymores, but I run a different third perk on this thing after going through everything and finding the best class up, which we'll talk about in 1 second. But claymores restocking every 30 seconds, it's just so overpowered, and it fits perfectly with a setup like this. And then of course the stim shot as well. Don't sleep on the fact that it's not just for restocking your claymores, you're also restocking your stim shots, which are very helpful on a weapon that's a bit slower based. It's very easy, you don't really have to worry about too much. You're gonna stim shot and then you're gonna go and challenge fights. You don't have too much other stuff to think about, and that's why I think this stuff worked good. And then perk 3, personally I like to go with tracker as far as perk 3. I've tested out a lot of different things, and I think battle hardening can be nice, and the thing that I like to do usually is start off the game with tracker, because I think tracker is actually very strong in this game, and I've never really been a fan of tracker, but it's very strong to sort of counter campers, because you can see the footsteps of where they run into buildings and then where they sort of posted up. So that's what I would rock with as far as the third perk. And if you're just getting constantly flashbanged and all that stuff, all you have to do is swap that out to battle hardened mid game. That's what we rock as far as the perks. Let's go ahead and get into the attachment. Smack like, subscribe. Here we go. Yo, let's go ahead and get right into these attachments. Now, most of these attachments are around increasing this weapon and making it still have that really high damage and fast time to kill at range. This is not a weapon where you're going to be very fast speeding this thing up or wanting to use it at more mid ranges. This is for something where you're going to be patrolling, looking out onto decent mid to long lines of sight and picking people off because of its high damage and fairly good accuracy. First off with the muzzle. Now, with the muzzle, you're going to want to go with the Colossus suppressor. Now, it's an extended suppressor that adds considerable weight, but it greatly increases your muzzle velocity, reduces the recoil, and helps you with range precision, it says. So you get sound suppression, which sound suppression is kind of, I'm still iffy on it in this game. It's like, you know, a suppressor, it doesn't keep you off of the compass, it doesn't keep you off of the minimap, but it does make your weapon a little bit more quiet. So it's like, how helpful is that really? I don't really know. However, you get damage range as well as recoil control, which are super duper helpful things. You do have to give up your ADS speed, which is, like I said, this is a slower based weapon that its specialty is having a very, very strong assault rifle with very high damage and decent control. It's not going to be your fast weapon. So of course you're giving up ADS speed and also aim walking steadiness. It does suck to give those two things up, but it's an easy decision in my opinion to get three things that are fairly helpful on this weapon, especially in terms of damage range, because you want to keep this high or this fast time to kill, high damage even at decent ranges, and the recoil control. Next, we'll go ahead and go to the barrel. The barrel you want to use is the ODEN Factory 810. It is the longest barrel available. What you get with this longest barrel available is you get damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. So more of that good stuff that this class setup is built around, like we saw in the last one, keeping that damage at range where you're going to want to be fighting people, and keeping that recoil control to where this weapon doesn't really shoot up vertically or to the side. It's more of a bounce to it that you can really learn to handle, and having recoil control does help it. Now, you do have to give up your aim down sight speed and your movement speed. So once again, slowing down this weapon, and that's why this is made for a setup that is for a bit more of a slow-paced style where you just want a assault rifle that you can rely on to post up and pick people off. Now, what you can do is you can swap out to this one, which is the 730mm, which is just the same thing, gives you all the same qualities, but it's just a smaller barrel. Now, personally, I would probably do this if you're playing on a smaller map with it. You know, the bigger the map, you know, if you're playing ground war, the longer the lines, not necessarily the map, because map sizes are, you know, it's dependent on how you play the map. You know, in ground war, the maps are huge, but you might play in a building where every fight is up close, or you could play literally camping in the back with a sniper trying to pick people off 100 miles away. It doesn't, you know, it depends what you're playing. So if you're trying to long lines of sight, 100% go with the 810. And the cool thing is you can customize in game, right? You can edit your loadout in game and it just changes in your next life. More closer maps, you definitely want to go with this. This one, you have to give up recoil control and bullet velocity to get ADS speed and movement speed. I don't really see too much of a use to use the short barrel on this thing, because the class setup and this weapon is designed around a slower gameplay style, a high damage style. So this would kind of go against that, but you could use it if you want to give it a go and be a faster paced weapon. But really, you want to stick with probably the 810 for the bigger maps. And if it's a little bit closer where you want a lighter barrel, you don't want to give up your movement speed or ADS speed as much, then you could definitely go with the 730. But going down to the 420 is just much too small of a barrel in my opinion. Next, we go ahead and we go across these. Personally, I don't use an optic on this weapon. I think optics can be cool on this thing, like having a Viper reflex sight. I try this thing out, but I mean, this weapon already, because of it's not necessarily the weapon, but it's a little bit about the weapon and the class setup, mainly about the class setup and the cons on each of these attachments. It's already pretty slow ADS speed, and just adding this on, it just makes it very slow to aim down sights. And personally, I don't mind the default sights on this weapon nearly that much. I find that the sights sort of coincide with the recoil pattern, and you can easily get a hang of this weapon. It doesn't take too much to get a hang of the bouncy sort of recoil pattern. Now, with stock, we want to go with aim, walking, movement speed. Personally, this is just what I stick with, especially on a slow weapon like this. I still need my stock. I'll give up the aiming stability to get myself a little bit of stock. I'll take anything I can get with stock. That's because I'm someone that always needs that on slower based weapons or assault rifles, and it helps you with strafing side to side. So if you get into some gunfights, while most of this weapon, your movement speed, your ADS speed, all that stuff is very slow, the majority of the time you're going to want to be, you know, not ADSing right before a fight. You're going to want to be already ADSing and let the enemy sort of play to your style, right? But when you're already ADSing, aim, walking, movement speed allows you to strafe back and forth, and it just is very helpful, gives the gun a good mobility, a good control to it, definitely a better feel. Personally, I run this on most of my assault rifles. You'll see me running stock with. I've been doing this for years and years in Call of Duty, and it's something that really makes a world of difference in my opinion. And stock in this game isn't nearly as strong as it was in previous games, but I still rock it, and that is the ultralight hollow. Next, we go ahead and go with the perk. Now, in this one, you don't see me use these too often where I maximize or use a weapon perk. You'll see it in some of my class setups, but definitely probably not the majority of them. Sleight of hand, however, definitely is needed on this weapon because of the fact that you only have 20 bullets in each magazine with this weapon, and it does have a fairly slow reload, I would say, especially, well, of course, if you don't have sleight of hand. So putting on sleight of hand, it fixes that. You can go with other options like ammunition. You can make it go from 20 to 25 or 30, but then you're punishing yourself again even more on your ADS and movement speed. So I don't really see the point of doing that. Screw that. I'll just go with sleight of hand. No con to sleight of hand, and I get reload quickness. That's my opinion. I'll just take that. You get your training and reloading faster when under pressure, which is very, very helpful on a weapon like this. Sleight of hand makes a world of difference. This weapon, in my opinion, is tough to use before you unlock that sleight of hand. But once you get that, running around with 20 bullets in each magazine before slow reload is really tough to handle, especially in a game that, I'm usually using this in probably ground war or 10v10, so a multiple of enemies. And then the last thing we go with is the stippled grip tape, and this one is pretty nice because it speeds you up a little bit. You know how all this stuff has been designed around keeping this weapon to be the beast that it is, high damage, high range, effective weapon. However, this helps you mitigate a little bit of those slowdowns because this weapon, it will feel slow. That's the whole point of it. It's going to feel slow, but it's going to smack the enemy. It's going to be super duper high damage for an AR. So this one, it helps with a little bit of that. You have to give up aiming stability. However, it helps you with your sprint to fire speed if you are caught in a sprint, because this weapon is not made for those close range, or of course not made to be coming out of a sprint, but because of its high damage, which equals fast time to kill, you can still sort of get some kills. You can still beat people, especially if you have sprint to fire speed and you can get that gun up a little bit quicker. And then ADS speed is nice to sort of counteract those other things that we have damaging this weapon also. Anyway, that's what we rock as far as the 5 attachments. This weapon is really, really good for a certain playstyle, I find, and I think this is a weapon that a lot of people are going to love and use this thing like all the time, and other people might just completely ignore because it's not their style. I think that's sort of what this weapon is like. It's going to be, some people are going to say, this is the best gun in the game, and other people are going to say, why would you ever use that? And it really does do well, but it's for a certain style, and that's what we designed this class around, keeping that high damage possible and keeping it effective at range where it can melt your enemies. Thanks for watching. Drop a like, subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one, and I'm out. Peace.